Oh, road course week. Least favorite
Ooh.
week on the Wednesday night dash calendar. And as you can see, looking at the results from this week, I don't. We'll talk about it, but I don't want to talk.
Yeah, I'm not doing that
But
again.
I'm reluctantly going to talk about it tonight, and also some BCD stories. IndyCar silly season. NASCAR's headed to Daytona. IndyCar is going to St. Louis. Busy. Oh, and Formula One's back finally after their summer break. So busy week
Yes.
of racing coming up. This is FR Racing's Garage Talk. I'm DJ Flock.
I'm Eric Richardson.
So let's start with behind closed doors last night because I completely caught everybody off guard signing into the session. Up until about a half hour before your session started, wasn't even thinking about it. And then all of a sudden, my kids went to bed right away, which one never happens. They went to bed early, two, that never happens. And I'm like, I've got like 5 minutes. I could jump in here and I could start in the back. Why not? So I jump in. I'm like, hello, hello. And you were caught off guard. You weren't
I'm like,
expecting that.
what are you doing? If I had
And
that on my bingo card, there's no way I was
that,
going to pick
yeah,
that one off.
that was not going to
Especially
be the.
you, you driving at Laguna
Yeah,
will.
yeah. My arch enemy of any court. Well, maybe Watkins Glen and ARCA card takes over that after Wednesday this week. But then things are starting off okay. Then a freak thunderstorm hits my area and my internet goes out for 10 minutes. And I'm just like, man, I
Finally get
finally
things
I
to
finally get
move.
in. I got a couple clean laps. They weren't fast. I had no practice because I had, like I said, no intention of doing this race. And then Mother Nature's like, no, you will not do this.
Punishment for trying to.
Yeah. So I just like, whatever. And I go and I went and watched TV instead. So yeah, you had a rough night.
Yeah. What? Early on, I just took it easy on the start. Then I had different breaking points, and I got in. I think he saved it, but I got into the back of Brian on like lap two.
I did
And,
pass you going into not
and I
quite
spun out on that
yeah,
one.
you spun out a couple turns before the corkscrew. I'm like, hey, look at this. I'm moving up the field. I make it through the corkscrew two or three times, and I'm like, hey, this is yeah.
I need help on road courses though. I'm generally 2 to 3 seconds off from the top.
I just
I need consistency.
on Wednesday night dash, we went to Watkins Glen in the ARCA cars, and I said I don't think there's anything scarier than an ARCA car on a road course.
I felt good going into that.
I didn't. I
And
did not feel good at all. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to be way off pace. I'm just going to try to stay out of the way. I'm going to try to run my race. Few incidents as possible. And I didn't have anything major. I mean, I didn't have to tow. I didn't have any major wrecks.
I did.
You did.
Lap one.
I spun out a couple times, but I was probably 6, 7 seconds off the pace. And anytime I tried to push, I'd lose it somewhere. And I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? I mean, it's so frustrating. I
It's
literally signed
so
off. I'm like, well,
funny.
that sucked. And I'm like, that was not fun. I don't think I've ever said that before after a session.
That's so funny. Last week, I feel like I'm gonna rage quit, or I guess 2 weeks ago, going into Dover, and like I'm probably gonna rage quit this one for the first time. And like, I'm feeling good. Watkins
You've
Glen
rage quit.
already.
Wait a second, you've rage quit before on us. I
No,
recall you rage quit on us at Bristol, the one in our first
so
like big season.
so that one wasn't necessarily rage quit. I was at the back and it wasn't happening. And at that point, I had enough laps down that I wasn't going to catch and I wasn't going to lose any points. So I
So
went
just
ahead and just pulled off. That way I didn't get in
called
the
it a
way of
night.
cars
I mean, I've done that before.
because
I
I
mean,
was having a bad enough night. I didn't want to ruin someone else's night.
yeah, right. It's fair.
So
That's what I did at Dover.
frustrating as it was, I wouldn't necessarily put it a rage quit because I stayed in the session and I was watching, and I think I did maybe get back out, or I thought about going back out for the last few laps.
But yeah, it sucked. I walked out. I'm like, well, that sucked. But But we're back. We go to, it's after going to the road course, we go back to Michigan. Then we're off for Labor Day. And then we're going to Irwindale.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I've started turning some laps there. I think I know what I need to do now, but
I know what I need to do. I just haven't done a long run at Irwindale yet. And that is such a weird pit entrance too. Like,
yeah.
have you tried to pit off the track?
No, as I'm wrecking and hitting escape.
So
where have you been at lap time so far?
I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I want to say it was around 19 flat.
Okay, so I'm just a little off.
I think some of the quote unquote like top tier drivers from the videos I've watched, I think they were, hot lapping at like 18.6, 18.7, if I remember correct. I mean, I could be completely off.
Yeah, I was thinking like 18.4 or something. But yeah, that's gonna be a fun race.
Irwindale's like, if I'm thinking of the right track, maybe you look at it.
Now, you know how that track opens up after or going into turn 1?
Yep.
Have you taken that road yet?
No, I haven't. Why? What?
I did. You get just a little bit off track and it just blinks you back into the pit.
Oh, yeah. So Irwindale has an unusual pit on the outer, or the outer ring, they call it, where you are on, I think, you're on the backstretch on turn 3, and you enter right before you get to turn 3. You loop back around, you go to your pit box, which is basically right on the start finish line, and then you exit on turn 2. So you're basically like crossing paths as you're pitting. So if there's probably should in theory only be during the caution. That can get very messy. I'm glad we have a smaller field.
It's too bad we're doing the oval and not the figure 8.
That would be like if we just didn't care. Speaking of weird pit entrances, have you seen the new layout for IndyCars for Nashville next year?
Yeah, it's like the opposite end of the track of the start finish line.
Let's see. Someone pointed it out that at I gotta find the map here. So the pit entrance,
they're reconfiguring the course.
Yeah, they have reconfigured the course, and the new pit entrance, it's like a this hairpin, turn 3 hairpin where you're coming into 2, and before you go into the hairpin, you enter into the pits and do it like kind of a hairpin in the pit lane, loop back around, and then you exit like leaving the hairpin. So you're going to have people coming through a hairpin while also other people are going to be exiting the pits.
Seems like a great idea.
I don't think that was very well thought out, but I mean, they wanted to run this through downtown and run it on Broadway and, over the bridge again. I mean, the bridge is cool.
They were inspired from Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I hope they don't turn this into like, hey, let's go to, I mean, Pittsburgh is pushing for one. We don't turn this into like, let's just do downtown streets in America because,
back to ovals.
Our city streets in America are so well maintained that they can handle race cars.
Going over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So how about the other fun IndyCar experiment coming this weekend?
The alternate tires?
Yeah.
So I have to admit, I'm ashamed I don't know this. I don't know what is fundamentally different between the regular and the alternate compounds. And I shouldn't admit that out loud, but I'm going to. I really
Those
don't.
alternates are a little bit softer, providing more grip. And since they can have more grip, you can corner a little bit faster. And bet the degradation on them.
Yeah, it probably wear faster.
A lot faster.
That could be interesting. I don't know if Gateway is the ideal place to test that out.
I know they're going to get one practice session with them. They have 2 sets of alternates, one is a practice session set, and then they'll have one for the race. So it seems like it's still primarily.
Is it mandated that they use it?
Yes.
Oh,
They have to have 2 laps on each set.
yeah, that'll be interesting.
But I'm interested to see if they run long, how much tire degradation is there? How much speed loss is there? Could make for really fun and interesting pit strategies. My question is going to be, what does that do for the safety of the racing?
Yeah, that's more of what that's the first thing I think of is like,
if you catch somebody in the wrong spot on a turn, especially a gateway, is that first turn is really tight.
Yes, that's exactly my point.
It's like a kind of a Darlington. It's an egg shaped almost, or oblong.
It doesn't seem like that is the ideal place to test that, but that's just me. I mean, I could be completely wrong.
I could see it like a Phoenix, hint, hint.
Or a Chicagoland, or a Kansas, or,
even Iowa could have been a fun one, especially now that they opened up the second groove.
Yes, yeah, that would be fun. A lot of drama in IndyCar lately.
Oh man,
Alex Palou is
I like Alex Palou, but
he's not making it very easy to root for him right now because he just seems like such a drama queen.
He was centered around drama last year, took it to arbitration. He's leading the championship this year.
Running away with the championship.
Apparently told McLaren, I think we talked to last week. No, yeah. I'm not doing this.
Buzz off, McLaren, and now I'm.
Is he just expecting he was going to get a F1 ride, but with Norris and Piastri running pretty well and starting to pick up form, he just knows that's not going to happen now?
I would be my guess. I mean, I just feel this isn't doing anything for his reputation with ownership, because if you see like how it's like, okay, last year that wasn't good, but now he's done it 2 years in a row where he's had some kind of weird contract.
I know I saw even his management group.
Yeah, he got dropped. They dropped him.
Yeah, he got dropped too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew they said something about it, like we don't condone this, and I thought they dropped him.
They dropped him. He has been dropped by his management team because I guess he didn't even consult with them before he did this. He just flat out called Zach Brown apparently, or sent Zach Brown a letter or whatever he did, carrier pigeon, and said, I'm not coming to your team next year.
And now he's being sued.
Now he's being sued in the UK. Hey, fun.
It's been spin on him already.
Fun fact. So I forget if this is for Red Bull or for we're jumping around here. If this is Red Bull or AlphaTauri, but for the Grand Prix of Mexico, one of those two have signed reserve driver Nick DeVries.
I saw something about it, but when I saw his DeVries, I didn't even read it. He's probably AlphaTauri.
Yeah, he has been brought back as a reserve driver for that one race for some reason. After how he was treated, like that's rough. Anyway, back to IndyCar. We're looking at the
it'll be fun to watch below. See what happens.
The silly season tracker. This was put together on Reddit by user Evil Krieger. I'm sorry, he posted it, but the silly season chart is by Mama G-Force.
I like it.
First comment: Penske decided to skip silly season this year. Fair enough.
They'll participate next year.
Yeah, there could be some complete chaos. But the thing is, Penske on the NASCAR side too, they're pretty set. Someone pointed out that Logano is their oldest driver, and he's only 32, despite having the hairline of a 50-year-old.
I thought he's older than that.
No,
but he started when he was
he was like 17, 18 years old when he started. He's just been around forever. I mean, this is like, the LeBron James of NASCAR, not like, accomplished. I mean, he's a 2-time champion. You can't argue with that, but he's been around for a long time. And it's just like, he's 32. He's like a grandpa of the sport, and he's 32.
Yeah.
Like I said, he just has the hairline of a grandpa. Penske is pretty much locked in for next year. Today's news, this week's news rather, Marcus Ericsson is leaving Ganassi and he is sliding over to Andretti. And
I'm going to see if he's able to be competitive.
your three Andretti drivers locked in are Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, and Marcus Ericsson. And your last car is still to be determined. Devlin DeFrancesco will be.
I think that virtually guarantees both those drivers are out the door. Grosjean and DeFrancesco.
Yeah. I don't know if Grosjean is going to be back in IndyCar, if anyone's going to give him a ride, but it sounds like he wants to come back. He wants to do sports car racing, but he wants to race IndyCar too. So who knows? Rumors are that possibly David Malukas moves over from Dale Coyne over to Andretti into that fourth seat. Malukas has also been rumored to Arrow McLaren. He's also been rumored, less of a rumor, to Ganassi. Allegedly, Malukas was offered a contract at Ed Carpenter, but he didn't sign it because he got another offer. And fair enough. I think that's I mean, he deserves it. I think he, with some better equipment, he could be very competitive.
That Ed Carpenter's tough team. They've not been competitive in that driver change they made. It hasn't worked out. That tells you it's a car. Because Ryan Hunter-Reay is a great driver.
He is. And I mean, Rinus VeeKay has generally been pretty good. I mean, he had his oops moment with Palou in the 500 this year, but I mean, he's been up towards the front generally.
Yeah, he's been good and run up front a little bit, but he hasn't been really competing for wins. Top 10 finishes, but not much after.
Over at Ray Hall, Lundgaard is the only one who is locked in, but I think Graham, he made a comment earlier in the year that anything's on the table, but based on how his season
stays.
Yeah, things have turned around a lot for them. I mean, for as low as they were at the 500, things are much better. Jack Harvey's been cut loose. Connor Daly's actually filling in for Jack Harvey. And there's been some names thrown around as far as who's going to be in the 30 next year. Ed Carpenter, who knows for his seat. Junkos Hollinger, not sure if Callum Ilott will be back, but I guess Canapino will be back more than likely. He had a really good off week. He went down and did some event in Argentina, and I guess he was like a freaking rock star there.
Did I see Tom Blomqvist is with Meyer Shank?
He is with Meyer Shank.
Simon Pagenaud is still on the recovery path.
Yeah, well, Blomqvist is actually taking over Elios Castroneves' seat. Pagenaud has not raced since his Mid-Ohio crash, and we don't know if he'll be back next year.
Castroneves is still going in the drive for 5.
He is. He will be doing the Indy 500. Over on the Dale Coyne side, Malukas has already confirmed he's leaving. So there's been some names thrown around. This tracker I'm looking at is hilarious. We talked about this before we hit record, but the 2001 movie Driven. I watched that recently. Do you remember when the last time you watched that movie?
Oh man,
it's probably been
maybe in college. It's probably been at least 15.
I probably watched it 6 months ago because I bought it on iTunes because it was on a $4.99 sale, and I'm a sucker for when they put movies on sale for $4.99. I've actually built up a collection of awful movies in my.
I was looking for it not too long ago, just to be able to watch it. Last one I watched was Rush. The Formula One.
Oh, wow.
Niki Lauda and
yeah.
Oh,
wow. I haven't heard that one in a while.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
The best part about this tracker I'm looking at right now, they have the rumors of drivers who are interested in for the RLLC. One of them is listed as Bly, and then the Dale Coyne rumor has Tanto. If you know Stallone's character was Joe Tanto, but no Brandenburg, which that movie is so hilariously bad. Like the acting is so bad, and the thing is, like, you have Stallone in there. Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds was the car owner. And Burt Reynolds was in a wheelchair in that movie. But they never like fully explain why he's in the wheelchair. We just know that Stallone is responsible for putting him in the wheelchair. They never explain why. I feel like
I sit down on the job. You don't get to do that too often.
I feel like there was a line in the movie like, "You did this to me," or something like that.
Yeah, it's been so long. I need to watch that again.
You know what? Get yourself an iPhone. We can do a movie share.
I will go on record that unless it's like given to me for a job, I will never own an iPhone.
Yeah, they have this whole thing where you can do like a movie share, where what you do is you get on FaceTime with the person, and they have like different apps now too. And so you do a video call and you put the movie on your phone, or if you have an Apple TV, you can watch it on your TV or your iPad or your computer or whatever. And you basically like watch the movie together, and you can like Mystery Science Theater 3000 it and just give all your commentary on it.
Now, and just for full transparency, I do have an iPod.
iPod? What?
Yeah, it might be like, from 2005, but it still works.
Does the battery hold a charge?
Yeah, it does actually. It's still pretty solid. The one Apple product that still works. Sorry, I'm trashing Apple right now. Then I do have an iPad. It's I believe a second gen iPad mini.
Wow, that's a throwback right
It
there.
still works. So if that gives you how long it's been since I've dealt with Apple.
I'm getting tagged in a bunch of messages here. But anyway, so you got the we'll have to do like once you find that movie, you need to watch it, and then we need to do like a segment where we just talk about like how bad that movie was.
No, here's an idea. Let's do a GT live while we each watch it, and then we just commentate through the movie. People tune in and are like, what in the world are you guys doing?
I'm just gonna sit here and eat
obviously
popcorn.
We can't show the movie, but
and the thing is, like, this should have worked. This movie, in theory, should have worked. Like, you had Warner Brothers was involved in it. Rennie Harlan directed this movie. Like, he's, you'd see Nightmare on Elm Street, Die Hard 2. Okay, so maybe Deep Blue Sea. Did you ever see Deep Blue Sea?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've probably forgotten more movies than I even remember that I've watched. I watched way too.
So Rennie Harlan, he directed Die Hard 2, which was all right. I mean, it was an okay sequel. Cliffhanger, again, Stallone.
Good movie.
Deep Blue Sea, Driven. He's directed episodes of the TV show Burn Notice, Graceland, Covert Affairs, and White Collar. And he was nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times for worst director. One of his first movies he ever directed was the 1990 movie The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, starring Andrew Dice Clay, Wayne Newton, Priscilla Presley, Morris Day, Gilbert Gottfried, Ed O'Neill, Lauren Hawley.
I miss Gilbert Gottfried.
I do. I love Gilbert. His podcast was so good. And
now, here within the last few weeks, I think they're on Paramount. Kind of remind me of this. You know what I've gone back to watch?
What's that?
The roasts of celebrities.
Yes.
We watched the Charlie Sheen and Donald Trump was on it.
Oh man,
We watched a couple others.
the only thing I
Some
remember
of those
about
are awesome.
the only thing I remember about the Donald Trump roast was the guy from Jersey Shore. Remember that
He
the
was
situation?
awful.
He was so bad, and then somebody cracked a really awful joke, and they cut to Trump just cringing, and it's just like, man, if you got that guy to cringe. But there were so many of those good roasts. They were like
Early Sheens was just epic.
Larry the Cable Guy had a really good one. The Bob Saget and William Shatner, those were really good. Bob Saget, the thing with Bob Saget's roast is another comedian who has passed, who I love dearly, was Norm Macdonald.
You met him, didn't you?
I didn't meet him. Yes, I met Bob Saget. I did meet the late Bob Saget, who also I thought was phenomenal. I loved him. I saw Norm Macdonald live a few years ago, and I remember we went to a club. I just by chance saw that Norm Macdonald was. I remember my wife was pregnant with our twins, and I saw Norm was coming to a club, and I'm like, we have to go. And they're like, it's a 2-drink menu. I'm like, she's pregnant, she can't drink. And like, oh, go just drink Sprite or something like. And Norm comes out, and I was just like, oh man, I'm so glad I got to see him. I never got to see Gilbert live, but I saw Norm, I saw Bob Saget. And the sad thing about it is all three of those guys died like 8 months apart, all way too young.
Oh man.
And you know who else died in that same period? Louis Anderson.
That's right.
And I love, if you can't tell, I love comedy. I love stand-up comedy. I have no timing to be one myself, but did you ever watch Life with Louie, the cartoon? It was on in the
every
90s
now and then.
That was such a good show. I enjoyed that so much. And every once in a while something pops up where you'll see a clip from it. I'm like, man, that was a really, really funny show. And there was a lot of humor in there that, Louis was a pretty clean comedian compared to the other people I've listed here. But he snuck some things into his show that were like, as a kid, it went way over your head. But watching it again as an adult, you're like, okay, that is hilarious.
I like comedians. They're awesome.
The other thing is, let's see, the other comedian I saw in person in Vegas was the amazing Jonathan, the comedy magician. He's since passed away too. Also very, much way too young. But I guess the moral of the story is, if you're a comedian, don't let me see you on stage, because you're gonna die young, unfortunately.
And I still listen to Bob and Tom all the time.
Oh, and then speaking of that, Donnie Baker.
Yeah, the guy who does Donnie Baker and
passed away recently.
A bunch of other characters. I heard that the other day. I was kind of sad about that one. I liked all of his characters. He's awesome.
What is it with comedians dying? Like the only comedian I can think of off the top of my head that lived way, way beyond the average lifespan was like Bob Hope, who I didn't really find funny.
I think it's live hard, play hard.
Yeah, I think a lot of these comedians had issues with
addiction and
substance. Mitch Hedberg's another one.
Yeah,
he passed away really, really young. It was also a very, very funny one. But man,
but all goes in line kind of with what we're doing here in just a little over a couple weeks.
Yes,
our charity race at Michigan with mental health and preventing suicide.
Yeah, that's coming soon. We got to get ramped up on some of the registrations, get this thing moving. We got some prizes, some cool prizes picked out. Still working on securing a few more things. Got to get that rolling. So that has become my number one priority now.
Come out and join us. Next Gens at Michigan.
$20 minimum donation goes right to the charity. We see you make the donation to the charity, you've locked yourself in. We're not seeing a cent from this. We're losing money. We're going to lose money from this, and that's completely okay. We're going to raise $1,000.
Earlier that week, I'm actually doing a virtual training for mental health through the AFSP, who are benefiting. So it's kind of cool working with them and seeing what they have to offer.
I have a few conversations, not recently, but we had some conversations in the spring with them. So they're excited for us. Told us to keep them in the loop, and off we go.
And I have heard of a couple drivers that they just need to get their donations in, but they are planning on it. So got a few more coming in.
Yep.
So keep
We're
at it.
capping it at 36. So we want to have a full field, have a good Sunday. There's no cup race on Sunday. Indy season's already over by then. You have no excuse not to participate. And
so even if you don't race, come out, watch.
Yeah.
If you're feeling generous and want to donate as well, be more than happy to do that.
Yes, indeed. So we'll keep posting more details. We're gonna start sending some invitations out to some other teams, get their guys in, and off we'll go. So back on track after we completely veered off. That was not on the agenda tonight, but it happens.
It happens like every week.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, we were talking driven, and you look at the Robert Sean Leonard, who's a really good actor, was really, really bad in this. He played like the brother of Jimmy Bly. And yeah, he was really bad. Like the acting is so cheesy. He was really good in Dead Poets Society. Do you remember that?
It's a great movie.
It is a great movie with Robin Williams, also, passed on suicide. But yeah, he was in that. He was bad. And then you have the cameo appearances of Mario Andretti, Mark Blundell, Roberto Moreno, Kenny Breck, Tony Kanaan, Haslin Max Pappas, Paul Tracy, Dario Franchitti, Alex Barone. All right, here's a trivia question. Do you remember the scenes in the driving with Jimmy Bly? What real driver did they use for those scenes?
Oh, I know that answer too.
I'll give you a hint.
Place it.
So they in the clip, the helmet for Jimmy Bly said JB. The B is your hint. The B was the same. The first initial of the first name was a different letter. So B, last name starting with B. Was around Formula One driver, was in kart for several years. Pretty decent career in kart. Had a few wins.
It wasn't Breck.
Nope. Drove a Motorola car.
Motorola. Why am I not placing this?
I'll give you the letter M. MB is the initials.
Oh, geez.
I'm gonna have to dig into the brain there.
As soon as you say it, I'm gonna be like, I need to hit my head against a wall. What's the first name?
Mark.
Was it Blundell?
It was Mark Blundell, yep. Yes, it says that the helmet was subtly changed from an MB logo to a JB. Originally, Team Penske with two drivers, Castro Neves and Gilles de Ferran, and Roger Penske was supposed to be in the film, but by the time the film was kind of in production, they had already left for the IRL to go back. And yeah. Anyway, that's your Indy update coming up, and NASCAR going to Daytona.
I feel like I need to watch Days of Thunder this week. Get ready for that race.
You know what my favorite scene from Days of Thunder? It's a very underrated scene. At the beginning, when Tom Cruise is having just all sorts of problems, just all over the track, just getting rammed, hitting cars, and they come around. He's like, "I need to pit," and Robert Duvall's like, "I can't. We're busy." I'm like, why not?
Drives by and they're eating ice cream.
Eating ice cream.
That might be my second favorite scene in the whole movie. Can you guess what my first one is?
The scene where Tom Cruise and I can't think of his name, are in the rental cars smashing each other up
Oh
on the
no,
beach. No.
no. When he tells him to hit the pace car,
Oh, hit the pace car. You've hit
you've
everything
hit
else.
everything
I
else.
want you to be perfect. Uh, there's so many continuity mistakes in that movie.
Oh yeah, so
where
many.
it's just like, yeah, they're at like
Was it? It's actually was it Phoenix or Richmond? They're running a car with a camera in it to get action shots for the movie.
Well, and there's scenes like in the Daytona 500 at the end where Tom Cruise has his moment where he's fighting his demons and going through goes through the wreck, but in the scene before his car is getting smashed up in the wreck, but then they cut through and then he's fine.
You know what we need to do?
Michael Rooker, that's who it is.
We need a theme race where if the car was at least seen or featured in Days of Thunder, you can run it.
So Don Simpson, there's a scene early on when he's just getting, he's having all his issues, and Don Simpson, who's one of the film's producer, he played a character named Aldo Benedetti, who was kind of a tribute to Mario Andretti. And Mario, a lot of people don't know this, Mario is actually a twin. His twin brother passed away a few years ago. His brother's name was Aldo. So that was actually a tribute to both Mario and his twin brother, Aldo. But so Tom Cruise goes and hits Aldo's car, and you cut to Don Simpson as Aldo Benedetti with his gloves on, middle finger right up at Tom Cruise. But this
episode's getting everything. We got some fun facts coming out.
We got all kinds of movie trivia here. We got comedians. Gotta do the GT Live, movie talk. There haven't been a lot of great racing movies.
This Thunder would be up there. I would put Talladega Nights up there.
Talladega Nights is a movie. It's so
awesome.
Good. So good. I mean, some of that hasn't aged well. Dealing with a homosexual driver. Some of those jokes are kind of like, ooh, that was kind of cringy, but it is a very, very funny movie. And that ranks. I think hands down, I will say that's my favorite Will Ferrell.
Yeah, that or Kicking and Screaming I have up there.
Mike Ditka is the. Did I ever show you the clip? So every year, I don't know if they still do this or not, but they would do a Mike Ditka 5K in Chicago. And I ran it the one year. And what they would do is they'd give you these shirts that looked like his sweater vest that he used to wear when he coached the Bears. It would say Ditka across it. And they give you like a fake mustache and a pair of aviators. And
that's awesome.
And they'd give you this medal with like kind of the medal was like an outline of Ditka's face. So Ditka, who's kind of a nut, I think we've come, I think that's pretty well known now that he's kind of a nut. He was there, and he they sang the national anthem before the I'm drawing a blank on what the guy's name is, John something, but he sings for the Cubs. He's kind of a big opera singer guy. I interacted with him and reminded him this on Twitter, but he Ditka goes, I'm going to turn it over and let my good friend Jim, or you got the name completely wrong, and he goes, I'm going to have my good friend Jim here sing the national anthem, and he picks up his mic and like, my name's John, coach. So then I have this video that I took on my phone, and they did basically two stages of the run. They it was group one ran, and then they cleared the course, and then group two ran and got the 5K over with. So I was in part of group one. So I'm standing there drinking my, the traditional post-race beer. And I'm like 20 feet away from Mike Ditka, standing up in kind of the starter stand. And they start playing the song Taking Care of Business. And he's wearing a medal from one of the races. He just put the medal on for some reason. And he's just standing there in the starter box, going like this to Taking Care of Business. And It is the funniest 15 seconds of video I think I've ever taken myself. And I'm just trying not to laugh on this video as these people are just running by. And most of them are completely oblivious to this because they're running. They're starting their 5K as Mike Ditka's, 10 feet up in the air above them, just taking care of business.
That's awesome.
So absurd. Anyway, man, we have really gone off the rails here. So spin this back up before we really go way off today. Daytona. Chase Elliott ran out of gas at Watkins Glen.
In the bus stop.
In the bus stop. I heard the radioactive clips. Like the 9 ran out of gas. Oh, Kyle Busch was pitting in a spotter. Like he's probably like 20 feet from the commitment cone. He's like, stay out. He's like, what happened? He goes, the 9 ran out of gas. He's stuck in the bus stop.
How do you do that?
That was a really weird thing. Alan Gustafson come on. He's like, we had some bad information. Like,
really?
You think? Like, how do you do that?
So, do Bowman or Elliott make the playoffs?
No, I don't think either of them do. I mean,
what's your prediction?
There's one
for the
spot.
Race?
There's one spot left, and it's Daytona, and it just screams that somebody who's like not even on the playoff radar is just going to end up right in the right place at the right time and take that last spot. Just because
I won't ask you to name names. Do we get a new season winner, or does somebody repeat
for the
Daytona race to get that last spot?
So who is it? Stenhouse? Yeah, Stenhouse. It feels like that was so long ago. So you're saying it's somebody else? I think it's somebody else. Watch somebody like
somebody's gonna knock out Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, someone watch. Yeah, I mean it's Bubba's.
Bubba's in the last spot right now. I think 23 points to the good.
I mean, basically somebody in the playoffs has to win, or Bubba has to win. Short of him wrecking early and finishing 36th, But what look at somebody like Justin Haley or something like. I mean, he's won there before. Just being in the right place at the right time. You have a big one at the end. Justin Haley or somebody like that who's not even on the playoff radar comes through. What happened to Austin Dillon? Was that last year? Yeah, it was last year, wasn't it? Where he came through and won.
Yeah, because of the rain.
Yep. But I don't think there's any rain forecasted this weekend, which is a little surprising. But
yeah, that was wild watching everybody sail into turn 1 and a rain shower.
Just a little drop. Yeah, so my prediction, there's two things. Is either Bubba Wallace takes the last spot, or somebody completely off the radar of the playoffs wins and takes the last spot and bumps Bubba.
I think a new winner takes this race.
I mean, let's look here. Who could it be? Who could it be?
There's some drivers out there that haven't won a race this year. And some Daytona race winners that haven't won. I
mean, Chase or Alex Bowman are in there that have to win. Let's see. You have Ty Gibbs sitting on the outside, Suarez, Allmendinger, Bowman, Chase, Cindric, Justin Haley, Ryan Preece. There you go. Ryan Preece is going to win the race. Could you imagine?
Oh, man.
Or, Ryan Preece or an Eric Almirola or Todd Gilliland or Corey LaJoie just happens to be at the right place at the right time and slides right in and wins for Harrison Burton.
Well, at least they have the rule in place that you have to run in all the races.
Yep.
Because if they didn't have that, Van Gisbergen would have been in.
Yeah.
He would have had the last spot already.
Yeah, that's
unless somebody else wins, it would have knocked him out probably because of points. But...
All right, so I'm looking at the entry list for this weekend, and I'm looking to see if there's any names that stand out. So Chandler Smith will be driving the 13 for Colleague. Brennan Poole is in the 15. Riley Herbst will be driving the 36 for front row. Wow. Front row is putting 3 cars into this race.
Wow.
McDowell, Herbst, and Gilliland. 34, 36, 38.
At least they're front row motorsports and they don't go by FR Racing.
Well, they'd be FRM, FR Motorsports. Let's see. Josh Berry is in the 42, but he's not eligible. Eric Jones hasn't won a race yet this year.
He's good on restrictor plates.
JJ Yaley's in the 51, but I wouldn't think he's eligible.
Shouldn't be.
Austin Hill will be in the 62, but he won't be eligible. Ty Dillon's in the 77. Is he eligible?
Who?
Ty Dillon in the 77.
Don't think so.
BJ McLeod in the 78.
He should be eligible.
I don't think he is. I don't think
Does he not run enough?
He's not in the playoff. There are only. How is Mike Rockenfeller listed as eligible?
He's only been in like 2 races.
Yeah. So yeah, Ty Dillon is 32nd. Chase Briscoe is 31st. Harrison Burton. Boy, Chase Briscoe's had a very disappointing year.
Yeah, pretty quiet.
Yep, Dillon is out. Eric Jones, Corey LaJoy, Todd Gilliland, Eric Almirola, Priest, Haley, Cindric, Chase, Bowman, Almendinger, Suarez, Gibbs. Any one of those can ruin Bubba Wallace's year if he
Watch Dinger go out and win this thing.
kind of surprised he didn't win one of the road course races.
It'll be fun to watch. And Formula One is back.
And back. Yeah,
Dude, they're at Zandvoort, aren't they?
Yeah. So I don't know how true this is, but I saw this thing going around social media that Max Verstappen was reportedly drove some sports car, did some tests in a sports car on a road, and that apparently he could get arrested over it for reckless driving. I don't know how true that is. I mean, it's on social media, so take it for what it's worth. That would be interesting.
He may get arrested, pay a fine, and move on.
Especially in his home country. Oh, you know what? I have to see if this is true or if I've been fooled by social media BS again.
But everything on social media is true. Old phrase, Facebook tells no lies.
Yeah. I guess it is true. There are multiple sources. Apparently it was in France. F1 world champion Max Verstappen, quote, could be prosecuted in France over a video of him driving 20 miles an hour over the speed limit in an Aston Martin 3 million euro hypercar in a tunnel near Monaco. Wow.
Over. Ooh.
I mean, they have pretty strict driving rules, and I mean,
they do.
Especially like
it's you don't hear about stricter over there than in the States.
Yeah, I mean, it's harder to get a driver's license, and I would argue that probably 75% of Americans could not get a driver's license in Europe.
Probably, I believe it.
And there's zero tolerance for drunk driving. Like I think in most countries, and at least in the European Union, like you can't have any alcohol in you. I mean, it's pretty strict. So while 20 miles over the speed limit doesn't seem like a big deal to us because America
people do it all the time.
America, 20 miles over the speed limit. Speed limits are just suggestions.
465 around Indianapolis. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a race course.
Have you ever driven through Texas? The speed limit is optional.
Yes. Yeah. Driving Houston. Ooh, that's a fun one.
So driving through the Panhandle, I've driven through the Panhandle in Texas a couple of times. I am 99.99% sure I have seen people driving on the interstates through the Panhandle of Texas with beers in their hands, like drinking their their Coors Light or their PBR, whatever they drink in Texas. And I mean, they don't even try to hide it.
I believe it. It's kind of what happened down in Talladega in Alabama.
Just
That's a wild experience if you ever get to check that one out. Saturday night, Talladega, that's something different.
I can only imagine. Talladega's on my list of places I want to go to.
Row 10 start finish line, the Jeff Gordon beer can race.
Throwing the beer can. Throw the beer can. Jeff Gordon won. I mean, that was a pretty controversial finish. Dale.
I was happy for it, but
I mean, yeah, you were. Dale Jr. not their fans, not so much. On that note, we should wrap.
yeah, we've covered a lot today.
We have covered a lot today, including a lot of unnecessary topics, but that's what we do.
It's fun.
Oh, register for the AFSP 200, frracingonline.com/AFSP 200. Get in there. If you aren't on the iRacing platform, tune in and watch, make a donation. That money goes right to the charity. This is a really important thing we're doing here. And we need to, we've unfortunately kind of let it slide a little bit, getting this thing set up, but we are refocused. We're going to get this thing done. It's going to happen. We're going to make this thing work. Otherwise, at FR Racing Online on social media, streaming platforms. Thank you again for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
BCD Chicagoland, WND on Wednesday at Michigan. We'll see you there.
All right. We'll see you.
Have a good one.